Hello, this is Tamara Buckin with Reclaim Initiative. Today, I'm sharing about angels. We are in the kingdom age now, and as we are called to live from heaven to earth, we are assigned resources that are there to help us, to partner with King Jesus to bring forth the kingdom. And one of the most important resources we've been given are angels. Angels have always existed. We find them all throughout Scripture. But at this point in the trajectory of history, as we've moved into the kingdom realm, they have been elevated in their sense of importance for partnering with those who have been called to rise up in creation, the sons and daughters of God. That's us. And so it's important that we pay attention, understand how God has designed and created and called angels forth, and then begin to dispatch them. Here's part of my journey. In 2011, right at the very end of the year, we were moving from Seattle, Washington, to a town in Sonoma County called Santa Rosa. It was a big move, and I was in the garage sorting some stuff to either go to like Goodwill or to go on the truck. And I had this sense that someone was there. And I looked out on the driveway, and I couldn't see the angel, but I knew the angel, the presence of a very large angel was there. It turns out that's an angel that's been assigned to me. God's told me his name is Stephen, and he has been a gift to me ever since. I was in a transition, moving from one place to another, and this is when angelic activity broke out around me that I could recognize. We had a Bernese Mountain Dog. She was the dog of my heart, and one of the reasons I loved her so much was because she knew when angels were present, and God used her to teach me to know when they were present as well. She would do this thing. She was a very low-key dog, but when they were present, she would get all excited, and she would look all around the room, and she would bark, and then she would run to a person who was receiving ministry or a person who was worshiping, and she would like bump their elbows, and then she'd want to go outside. And so that was a very important way for me to recognize angels and to begin to see, oh, they're present when I do this. Sometimes she'd be in a very far away part of the house, and I would begin to declare in a regular tone of voice, but they would be authoritative declarations, and she would come running and do her thing. And so she didn't recognize it by sound, she recognized it by the spiritual activity going on. So how about you? Have you discovered your angels? Have you dispatched them? Do you make them a regular part of your day? Angels can be so helpful. Just recently, when I was looking for carpet for our house, I was having trouble even finding a carpet store. I had driven out to the middle of nowhere because there was supposedly a carpet store. And anyway, one obstacle after another. And I finally found a carpet store, and it had like 3 steps up to go from one level to the other. And I had a sense every time I came down those stairs, I was going to be pushed to the ground. And on the 3rd time, I just said, angels dispatch in my spirit, not out loud, because there was someone right next to me. And all of a sudden, it stopped. And within 5 minutes, this elusive carpet was ordered. I had someone coming to measure. We had a date to lay the carpet, and I had the carpet chosen. Angels do amazing things when we call them to partner with us. In Hebrews, it tells us in the 1st chapter that angels were not made to be higher than men or humanity, so we never should elevate them over ourselves. We should always recognize that they've been sent to serve those who will inherit salvation. In Psalm 110, it says, when you go to war, your people will serve you willingly. Those are angels. And in Psalm 91, today I just read Psalm 91, and it talks about how angels will protect us. Angels are guardian angels, but they do far more than that. So let's get started and see what they do. Do you remember the passage about Jacob in Genesis where he was sleeping as he was running away for stealing his brother's birthright? And he had this dream of a stairway that reached from the earth to the heaven, and he saw the angels of God going up and down the stairway. And then, interestingly, because we look for generational things, at the top of the stairway the Lord said, I am the Lord, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of your father Isaac. The ground you are lying on belongs to you. I am giving it to you and your descendants. So do you remember that land represents kingdom? It represents the territory that we've been given. It's part of our birthright. And Jacob had an angelic encounter as he was receiving his birthright. So one of the things that's really important for you to recognize is that we're going into your birthright prayer on the weekend of May 14th and 15th, and that those angels are activated around you, because discovering and accessing our birthright is one of the most important things that happen in our lives. And so whether you can see them, feel them, touch them, sense them, I don't see them necessarily. Occasionally I can, but mostly I just know that they're there. I learn to recognize their presence. This is an important time for you to take this seriously and begin to really engage them. And Jesus took that passage, he brought it into the New Testament in the very first chapter of John. Nathanael and Philip had come to meet him, and he had an encounter with Nathanael, something about a fig tree, and he said, oh, you think that's big? Wait until you see the open heaven and gaze upon the Son of Man like a stairway, reaching into the sky with messengers of God climbing up and down him. Sometimes in scriptures, angels are called messengers. That's just another word that's been used, but that's what it means. I mentioned briefly that times of transition are really important for angels. We're in a massive one with the historical breaking through of the kingdom age, but you're also in a transition. You're in a transition right now as we move towards the discovery of your birthright, which is the last thing that really, then we're going to write a decree about our birthright. But as we're moving towards the end of the year, the Lord is inviting you to say, how will I move forward in this new place that I'm in? Will I take these tools and walk with people who are also walking with them? Because if you do, an amazing adventure awaits you. And that will be a transition in which you'll begin to see more and more angelic activity taking place in your lives as they support the work Jesus is calling you to partner with him to do. So if you think about the Nativity, there had been 400 years of silence between the Old Testament and the New Testament. Well, the New Testament starts with Zechariah being in the Holy of Holies and having an angelic encounter. I don't know why he was so shocked. That's where you would expect to have one. But then Mary had an encounter with an angel. Joseph had several encounters. The shepherds had a heavenly party. The wise men saw a sign in the star. Angels were breaking out. And they were speaking and they were doing things because it was a massive transition for Jesus to come to the earth. So once again, I'm excited about this time of history because we get to see a breaking through of more and more of the resources of heaven, which include angels, to come and be present. So I've talked a little bit about the purpose of angels. Well, angels do amazing things, right? In the Old Testament, Elijah and his army, They were completely going to be overrun, but the angels came and everybody ran off scared. Jesus was strengthened by the angels, both in the desert when he was fasting for 40 days and in the Garden of Gethsemane. So when we're really struggling, either physically or emotionally or spiritually, call for the angels to attend to you, and they'll be there instantly. And once again, God had me read Psalm 91 today, and it talks about angelic encounters in Psalm 91. So if you read it in the Passion Translation, it's fresh and new. It's so vibrant. So you can read about them there. There's There's the time of transitioning after Pentecost, where Peter was on the roof and saw that vision, and then Cornelius sent for him after Peter had that encounter. And Cornelius sent for Peter because he had an angelic encounter. So look at how God merged those two experiences to bring a breaking through of the reality of Jesus' freedom extended to the Gentiles. And then when Peter was in prison, he thought he was having a dream, but an angel came and got him and brought him out of the prison and brought him home. And he's knocking at the door and nobody will let him in because they think he's, a dream. So angels can get us out of big challenges, out of big problems. They can rescue us. Now, we often call on Michael and Gabriel. I've heard a lot of people do that. Those are the highest level angels. Most of the time with what we're involved in, we don't need to call on Michael and Gabriel. They're designed for very, very high purposes. Just as there's angels do have a hierarchy of importance. And so it's important to recognize that we don't often need to have the massive force come unless we're doing a huge kingdom assignment. But we have certain angels that we can call on, and they'll do the job just fine. So some of the angels I regularly call on, escort angels, to escort people from one place to the other. Moving angels. Angels help us move. They help us move through transition. They help us move houses. They help us move areas. Ministering angels, of course. Healing angels. Goodness and mercy. Fred actually had part of his prayers, his generational prayers and his birthright prayers, and he recognized Psalm 23 as a key passage for him, and he saw that it says, goodness and mercy will follow you all the days of your life. Those are angels. Breakthrough angels. Nation angels. There's angels assigned to churches and ministries. We know that because in Revelation 2 and 3, they are there. So here's an angel group that has really spoken to me recently. In December, when I was doing the 28 days of podcasting, the Lord was really talking to me a lot about regime change, which is so interesting because I had no idea that Russia was going to start a war with Ukraine. But the Lord really impressed on me. There's a paragraph in the Hebrews 11 Hall of Fame that talks about what faith did, many, many different things. They conquered kingdoms and established true justice. They fastened onto promises and pulled them into reality. It was faith that shut the mouth of lions, pulled the power of raging fire, and caused many to escape certain death by the sword. In their weakness, their faith imparted power to make them strong. Listen to this part. Faith sparked courage within them, and they became mighty warriors in battle, pulling armies from another realm into battle array. And when I read that, I literally saw angels coming to fight next to soldiers. That they would come and they would fight alongside, manifested on earth. And so, I don't know if you remember, but I was in the hospital for 4 days with my knee surgery, which never happens. But I didn't sleep basically for any of it. And I was awake and praying for Ukraine the whole time because the war was breaking out. And I knew that the Lord had showed me that for a reason. And so I was praying constantly and still do. I prayed this morning for angels to manifest among the soldiers, to manifest around the 100,000 people who are still stuck in Mariupol, six stories below the ground. That's how they're holding the city. So last night I saw some news on that, and I was just prompted to pray, Lord, bring provision. They're afraid of running out of food. Bring more angels to fight alongside of them. This is what we can do. This is how we impact the trajectory of history. I encourage you to not always be thinking about your own life, but to be asking God, where do you want me to pay attention in the world? Where do you want my attention drawn there? We may think it feels too hopeless, but when we use the resources, access them that God has provided for us, then we literally can do things that change history. There's I read in a book once that it was a World War II battle, and there was only a few English fighters, and they were fighting the Germans. Well, two of the English fighters saw angels in the sky. And then the German officer asked, where did you get your men from? They kept coming at us all day long, and they were defeated. King George had asked for that day to be a day of prayer. So the English people were praying, and God responded by bringing angels literally to fight alongside a very low number of English soldiers, but they defeated their enemy, the Germans. So those are the types of things that our prayers bring, but we have to be aware, we have to be awake, and we have to access, aware, awake, and access the angels that God has provided for them. So in these transitions, in this time of shifting into the kingdom realm, this is the time for angels and you to get to know each other. When we meet tonight in our session, we're going to be moving in our heavenly imagination because we're helping to pull you out of learning to respond to faith through your mind and to move in your spirit and to access the heavenly realms so that you can live in the kingdom way that God has invited us into. So it may be very new to you, but I call you to respond in faith. I call your spirit to attention. I call you to understand the opportunity of this moment. I call you to understand the responsibility you carry as a GRA. I call you to meet your angels and to know that they are so for you and so waiting to be dispatched. I'm going to end with a story from my life. It was we hadn't moved yet to Santa Rosa, but we were in the process. And Bill and I were going to drive from San Francisco to Santa Rosa one weekend because we had paid for our house, but we weren't moving into our house for like 6 weeks. And the Lord gave me a word. The angels are going to welcome you to Santa Rosa. So we were driving along the road when we got off the highway, It was a couple miles to our house. And the whole time I had this sense in my mind of angels lining that street, and they were cheering for us. They were welcoming us. That was the start of a huge transitional time for me. Those are the years that God taught me about kingdom. Those are the miracle years that I got to live on that land that had a heavenly atmosphere. Those angels were there to welcome me, but they were also present for me when I, lived in Santa Rosa. So I bless you to be welcomed as you step into more and more of the fullness of your role as a generational reclamation agent. I bless you more and more as you discover your birthright combined with your divine design, combined with the generational sins, curses, and trauma out of your generational line removed and locked up and never to be reopened. I bless you to walk out your generational blessings. I bless you to make the shift from a Christian who lives on earth to a blessed kingdom seeker, partnering on the throne with King Jesus, activating the angels that have been assigned to you to see the kingdom age become manifest on earth as it already is in heaven. Amen.